2, 3.
Hey, 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 it's Kimberly Smith Austin here, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Made to Inspire podcast. I am here with my awesome and amazing co-host, Misty Kerrigan. Hey, Misty.
Hey, Kimberly. Happy Monday.
Hey, 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 it's Make It Matter Monday, Move It Monday. Yes, I love it.
Make it matter Monday. I love that. I love how I slept at least 1,000 hours yesterday, and I get a text from you this morning already talking about I have to go for an hour run, but I'll be back. And I'm like, I have to get coffee and try to open my eyes, and I'll be back too.
Yes, it was so necessary, Misty. Let me tell you this. When you put in the hard work, for me, I know that I need to put in some hard work on me. It helps me unleash and release the crazies out of this brain of mine. So I pushed our meeting back, but it was necessary. And I'm so glad that we were able to come together, even still.
I love, and we're going to jump into this, but we're talking about it for weeks, especially with our tools. And one of our main tools is intentional, the N at 10, and having that understanding of my shoes are on. I got to set my day. I'm just going to go. I'll be back.
Yes, yes. Because here's the truth. If we don't do it, who's going to do it for us? And I've recognized that. And when you take an assessment, which is always important, and I say assessment, self-examination, whatever you want to call it, to see where you are. Where is my state? Where is my body, my mindset, things like that. And if you recognize you're off kilter, do something about it. Don't just sit in it. And that's so common for people today. We just sit in it and keep making the donuts. You remember that old commercial from Dunkin' Donuts?
Time to make the donuts.
Just keep making the donuts. Stop the production line. Go get the system back in order, then go make the donuts.
I like that. And the system doesn't have to be overcomplicated like we've been talking about. And today, which leads us into today's sort of topic of that overcomplicated, is to really get back to inspiration.
Yes.
Inspiration, and our favorite, clearly the entire business was developed around it, inspiration to action.
I love those words. ACTION, 6 letters, 6 of my favorite letters. And I'll tell you, they make a difference. I'm going to make a little reference really quick. Faith without works is dead. And there, when you think about the works, that's the action. I can believe, I think I said on a live today or last week, I said, it's one thing to wish for it, to work, to want, to wish for it, to wait for it, but there's something about working for it. And so when you put the work in, my friends, you get yourself into action.
Oh, I love that. And it's those baby steps from clearing out the mind and really being inspired to do something. Divine whispers, right? That like, hey, which brings us to today's topic, because in 2020, actually it was 2019, towards the end of the year, you had a vision. In 2019, before the huge world shutdown in 2019, you had a vision.
Actually, it was 2018. But I didn't bring it to the world, to you and others, until 2019. That thing we talk about in the Millions of Possibilities, our book, about taking your ideas and cataloging them, writing them down. And so that was something I had written down in 2018. And just through my process of review, Misty, and I don't know if you know that, in my process of review,
I know,
brought it back to light in 2019. And then I'm like, hey, let's do it.
Well, and what was your vision? Share with the audiences who might not. I know a lot of our audience does know because they're part of it, but some audience members are like, I wonder what that vision was.
Well, you all know that I have a business consultancy, but also a wellness practice. And one of the things that I have a heart for is helping people become healthy, happy, and whole. And I recognize as I look throughout the society, look around friends, family members, there was a gap. There were a lot of people working. They were surviving, but they weren't thriving. And I knew that in my hearts of hearts, if I created a community, a conference, someplace for collaboration, that it could make a shift and maybe turn on a switch for some people. So this concept was called Empowered Women in Wellness. And my vision was, you know what? I want to create a community. I want to get women together and talk about the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the financial, the social, all aspects of that wellness wheel, to help them tap into being the best version of themselves. Because we were struggling, and this was pre-COVID. So you now add in COVID, a 2.5, 3 year global pandemic. You can only imagine where women were after that. So that's what it was.
So I'd love to put in perspective. So you get a call in 2019, you're starting a committee, to put on this conference for everything that you just said, and the wheels start to move. Having it in March is dear, March forward, a book that's coming out that you wrote. So everything starts to go down the line. And then all of a sudden this COVID thing hits, right? And it kind of derails things. And now it's 2021. People are we're still in COVID, we're barely coming out. 2022, right? Events are starting to pick up, but not at that level. And then in January, I get a phone call. And it's not even like January 1st, it's like the second week of January, and you say, it's time. It's time. I'm starting the committee. We're going to meet Wednesday at this time. Can you make it? And I said, yes. And I go, oh, it's time like for November, October. And you said, no, March 17th. I said, that's only 3 months
March
away.
18th.
Or 17th and March 18th. And I said, you're crazy. And you said, I know, but it's time. Click. And we get the committee. And everyone on the committee and that was the first question was, is 3 months enough time? And you said some amazing words. You said, if we don't set a date, we never will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first one of many. So if we could just set a date, if we can all get excited and rally around this date, let's go.
That's right. That's right. And it's kind of crazy. And I know that I'm a special kind of crazy. I know that already. And when I say that to people, it creates a position of alarm. They're like, what? And I know that if you don't set something, it will never happen. Again, it's the faith without works is dead. And so I'd gotten the download that it was time. And now I was crazy enough to reach out to some folks that I know who were involved in 2019 and says, hey, if you're still on, I'd love to connect with you and make this train go. And I believe, Misty, January was when I probably brought it full stream, but December I started already making a few calls, touching out to people saying, okay, are you
started in your own way to get it in motion without it being like a set. It was kind of like, okay, let me get things started, if you will, like before it became set.
Yes. And I'd reached out to the facility and they took about 3 to 4 weeks to give me a yes on a date. So then I was sitting in the backdrop saying, okay, we're doing it. Let's make it happen. But I think sometimes we have to step out. And I'm a firm believer that all it takes is one person in attendance, one person whose life will be impacted and changed to make a difference. Now, I know there's costs associated with it. There's a lot of risk involved. But if I can make an impact in one person's life, one woman, one man, one child, then that makes a difference.
Now I love that because you did a lot of steps and this said something and then you got a team. But what we want to focus on today, because we're looking at tools. We've done tools. We've talked about ironically, last week's episode was about conferences and the tools and all that. And we've been really leaning tools in. But I think one of your favorite tools is, and you're always helping me get better in it, and when you're out there coaching, it definitely is this, but you have the tool of execution. Now, Misty, how's execution a tool? Well, here's the great part about execution, and the word I love using now is beta. Is helping my clients and our clients throw betas, because people are relaxed with beta, because if you don't throw a beta, then the execution then becomes overwhelming and you make it try to be too perfect in your head before it could lay out. And I always say you have to have an iPhone 1 before we have the iPhone 14. Like we have to have one. And then my favorite thing, and I've said it in many episodes, is it's WD-40 for a reason. It's WD-40 for a reason. The other 39 didn't work. So what is your WD-1? And that is the tool of execution. Sometimes you just got to
do it.
Do it. So you did use a formula. Now helping them get to, what was the formula for this idea in your head to rallying around a committed individuals to getting to, wow.
You know what? It goes back to even our book, The Millions of Possibilities, taking your ideas from inspiration to monetization. looking at those 5 steps that we outline in that book is one, throwing it out there, dump it, right, Misty? We've got to get it out of our head, because if it's in our head, it doesn't make momentum. It doesn't create momentum, and nothing happens. And once you do that, just then going into that mind mapping process of saying, okay, now here's what I envision. And for me, it was then saying, what legs, what arms do I need involved, hands and feet, to make this thing happen? So whether it was volunteers, vendors, speakers, the participants, donors, sponsors, the list is ginormous. And I thank God that I've had probably 20 plus years of experience in event management and hosting events. So my brain went into pull out what's in there. But here's the truth. What's in my brain isn't in the heads of all the folks that I'm working with. So I have to slowly talk to them, get them on board to understand the vision, and then start looking at what that process looks like. So being able to dump it was critical, because I think then you can dissect that thing and start putting things into action, right?
I want to add to that, because I think everything, like you've been phenomenal at your events, especially and how many years are you now on the race events in May? That's also coming up this May, that gives back to such an amazing cause.
Yes, that's 11 years.
11 years where we come out and we could walk, run, kids, there's all sorts of things, but it really is that on Memorial Weekend.
Yes.
And where does the money go?
Money goes to an organization called TAPS, Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. That's for survivors of those that lost their life during serving in the military.
So you have this experience, 11 years, and the things you've done before. But what I love is, although 2020 didn't happen,
yes,
there was so much nuggets. It wasn't a failure in the sense, because when we dove in 2023, there was some structure already in place. We already had things. We already had colors and templates. And so it did cut down the work, because the work that was done wasn't thrown out. And like you say, Kimberly, you always write everything down, you always date it, and we're able to update it and take it. But I think it was one of the first steps in anything. And it's almost like a muscle when you go work out, but step number one in anything is decide.
Yeah.
And you decided sometime in February or sometime in December, and you let us know in January, but decide. And decide is a word that comes from where all words come from, but it means to kill off. Decide means to kill off, and what you're killing off is anything else that gets in the way other than what you're deciding to do.
I love that. That's huge when you think about that, because you're so focused on what that thing is. And for me, again, a very lofty goal, saying we're going to do this, but it was that decision. And I don't know if you know this about me, Misty, but I'm a person that once I make a decision, it's very hard to pull me back. Someone said that to me the other day.
Do I know that?
Yeah.
Really? That's you? That's so weird. I've never been lost in the middle of the night hiking in God knows where because a decision was made. So yeah, I think I do know that about you.
That's right. That's right. And that's a tough thing, because I think in our lifetime, whether it's in business, whether it's in life or health, a lot of people make decisions, but they don't always follow through with those decisions. They decide, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to feel great. They decide, I want to launch a business. I want to, enroll 30 new members into my program, but they don't do the work, which is step number 2, which is make that commitment. Because I think once you decide, how do you stick with it? How do you make a commitment? And I say this all the time, and just really defining the difference between interested and committed. Interested, I do it when it's convenient. When you've made a half-hearted decision, more than likely you're interested. But when you've made a decision that says, I'm going to do this, your commitment is come hook or come crook, it will happen. It will happen. And I know you all know about my commitment to run every day. And here we are going into the 8th year. Is it hard? Absolutely. Every single day I have to lace up. And you know what? During this last week, this conference, the last week of the conference, guess what? It was hard. I had spreadsheets, I had vendors, I had volunteers, I had all these things going on, and it was super hard. And guess what? On those days, I committed, but more importantly, I decided to just do the minimum. And for me, it was 1 mile. I had 2 days where I could only get 1 mile in. And for me,
I
That
want
was
to pause
everything.
that because I think when you watch everyone on Facebook and Instagram, it's like, oh, it looks fun, it looks easy. But literally, the night of the event, you would run, have to lay down, get back up on the treadmill and run, and then lay down, and then get back on the treadmill because you were going to knock that commitment out. But it didn't mean it was like, oh, this was a busy, fun day, let me go. It was really like, I'm doing everything I can to commit or to action this.
Right.
And
To
that
follow
wasn't
through
easy.
with
It's
my
not
commitments.
easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
People think,
And
oh,
that,
yeah, that must be easy for you because you love to run. Not when you're exhausted. No one loves to run when they're exhausted, but you don't. And what you easily could have done, right? Like I did a great, I walked 82 miles today. I don't need to run 1
exactly.
mile, but you've already decided and you were committed to it. So you still went home after probably, I'm not exaggerating, probably Neil's walking about 30 miles the entire day throughout the entire event, but still to almost crawl on your treadmill to hit the 1 mile so that it was something that now 8 years, 7 months, and 2 days tomorrow to like, and but I
Woo.
think that shows up in every aspect of your life. And when you start to let the little things slide, the bigger things slide. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that mile of crawling and laying down and getting back up was the definitive. That was probably more important than the conference because it's your word to yourself.
Yes, Missy, that's so good. And I know I shared that with you. And it was probably one of the hardest times because I literally was running and I was like, I'm so tired. I jumped off and just had to take a second to go, okay, get back on. And I did that. And it was back to committing to my commitments. You have to commit to your commitments, folks. You can't just make them with this half-hearted effort. If you've made a decision and you know that you have the ability to transform lives, impact a community, and help people on their journey, for me, this was about wellness, physical, mental, spiritual, financial, social. I knew I had to do it. And it meant me not running 5 miles or 10 or 12 or 18. I actually had a race scheduled the day after the event, several races, the marathon, LA Marathon, the hot chocolate race. Many of those I participate in every single year, but I also had out of town guests and speakers. And I made a commitment. I made a decision. This time I won't do it, but I will get my mile in.
I love that. So you decide, you commit, and then what's that last one? I've decided, I've committed, I put all the things towards what I need to do. Step number 3 then is
Taking that action. And
do
I
it.
love that because, again, faith without works is dead. I keep bringing it back up because we can have belief that we can, that we want to, but it's not until we take action that it makes a difference. And when you go back even to the conference, Misty, you and I in our pre-talk conversation, we were talking about the decision that we're doing this, the commitment of taking that check and taking it over to the facility and saying, hey, here's my money. That was a commitment, but it's also action saying, I'm putting my money on the line with some non-refundable agreements that I knew existed. So in my heart of hearts, it was either go all in or lose money. And if you know me, that is not a part of my plan. Never. I'm a very strategic spender. Call it frugal, some call it cheap, if you will. But my mission is to make an impact. And if I'm on a mission to make an impact, I want to make every dollar cent count. So when I said yes, that meant yes.
And it's important to us. And I was talking to Donna, one of our friends, and I was telling her that even with me and you is helping others build speaking careers or helping others go into their dreams without going into overwhelming debt.
Yes.
And so we're very frugal in the things that you do, meaning that you want to be able to turn around and teach others to do it and not do it as a martyr, but do it as we're having this event. We want to
That's right.
impact people, but also we want to put food on our own table to be able to sustain our quality of life. And so sometimes people want to flip that, right? But
Right.
really having that importance of you don't have to go into debt to make your dreams come true. There's different ways around it. We have other shows on that. But I think when it comes to action, that sometimes holds people back.
It does.
What if this, what if that? And you didn't what if it. We made the commitment, put it down, and then we just ran with it. Even in the Hail Marys in the last few days was still you knocking on doors and getting people excited.
That's right.
Oh, we
That's
were
right.
inviting people 10 hours before it started.
Because we knew there was a need for it. I mean, I think every woman, every person, really every child needs this community. And we knew that. And I think that's what kept the passion alive, Misty. You inviting at our pre-event event at the winery. You were out there dancing, celebrating, but you're saying, hey, there's this amazing event coming on tomorrow. We want you to join us. You and all the speakers that were out there, that because the mission was so powerful, we made that decision. We made the commitment, and then we moved forward with that action. We knew that there was some risk, but that didn't stop us from moving forward. And I wanted to use that as an example. When there's something in your heart of hearts that you know you need to do or you want to do, don't allow money to stop you. It might be a few dollars, a few $1,000s, but if it's something that you want, guys, you've got to be willing to step out on it. And that was it for me. And I went back and forth about using this part of the facility or that part of the facility. And in my heart, I said, I want it all. I want it all. And when you want it all, pay the price. And that price may be time, it may be energy, it may be connections, community, it may be your cash, whatever it is, move forward on it for you, but also for the legacy that you leave behind. If I never did this event, we never did this event again, Misty, there are women who are walking away with their cup filled up.
The universe rewards, God, whatever you want to put in there, it rewards action. There is just something that even in the universal laws of things, action begots reaction. And so looking at that, the action that the women even took, the speakers, the vendors, the attendees, what is already happening in their lives.
Yeah. So powerful. So friends, we want to encourage you that when we're talking conference talk, because that was our experience just recently, but whatever that is for you, and thinking about the tools, that's a tool, the DCA, I call it, the decision, the commitment, and the act toolbox. Go inside your box and decide what are things in your life that you need to make solid decisions on. Then be committed to those
your
decisions.
Health, your wealth, your relationships. Don't bog down. I know we do a lot of business, but every aspect of your business is impacted by your health, is impacted by your wealth, in relationships, your wealth in energy, your wealth in time. So it's not always just about money, even though money is an amazing resource, but everything impacts everything else. And sometimes we need to decide we're investing back into ourselves, especially where it comes from our health. And that starts to in turn impact everything else. Decide, commit, action.
And let me add one more thing. This is probably the most important thing. Decide that you matter. Decide that your dreams matter. Decide that your visions matter. Your ideas matter, because that's going to be the piece that catapults you and takes you through the rest of that process. When you have that value and that self-worth, self-love for your vision, your dreams, your actions, and yourself, you're able to take the next step.
Boom.
Yes.
Drop the mic on that.
All right. So we are super excited. We're going to continue going through the toolbox, because we know that when your toolbox is full, you can make an impact in the lives of those around you, the people you serve, the community in which you serve, and the clients that you're helping transform their lives. So my friends, as we say every single week here at the Made to Inspire podcast, there is something out there waiting for you.
Now go get it.